Today what we're going to be doing is practicing coloring using pressure to create values. So you'll be working on this worksheet, and for today we're going to be using colored pencils. Before we start, again, we always want to put our first name, our last name, and our class code. Your class code will be up on the whiteboard in the front of the classroom. To start off, let's go ahead and have everybody use their green colored pencil for the first one. And we're going to be working on the left-hand side. And you're going to notice that there are three boxes. One says light, one says medium, and one says hard. Now, that's going to tell us what type of pressure we're going to apply with our colored pencil. I'm sure when you color, whether you're using a marker, a crayon, a colored pencil, you are either all in or all out. Meaning, when you color with one constant pressure. And for some of you, it's always constantly light, always constantly medium, or always constantly hard. So what we're going to be doing with this worksheet is we're going to show you how to create different values of the same color. So I'm going to make a light valued green by pushing lightly, a medium valued green by pushing medium, and a dark value green by pushing harder. So a few tips. I would always start with my lightest color, and for me, I really like to color in circles. And for this first one, I'm holding my pencil way towards the back end. And the reason why I'm doing that instead of holding my pencil close to the tip is now I'm allowing less pressure towards the front of my pencil, and I can go ahead and attack this box. So when I color in a shape, I'll usually do a circle motion, and I like to go around the outside of my shape first. I really like to fill in my boundaries. Where are the sides of my shape? And go ahead and feel free to rotate your paper so that way it's easier to get to all sides. So again, I'm pushing really light, and depending on how well this camera is picking it up, some of you might not be seeing a whole lot of anything, and that's okay. We would rather start so light that it's hard to see, because we can always make it darker. So I'm using the side of my colored pencil. I'm not coloring straight up and down, and that's going to help me with my coverage so that I can cover a lot more of this shape than I normally would. So for this first one, I'm just coloring in a circular motion. I'm using the side of my colored pencil, and I'm pushing very lightly, and I've moved my hand all the way to the end. As I continue to move, I like to set my boundaries with my lightest color and then my darkest color. So I'm gonna skip the medium for right now. I know what my lightest value is. I'm gonna go ahead and go in and go a little bit darker. Now that doesn't mean choke up and start pushing as hard as you can, because what that'll end up doing is it'll actually end up damaging the paper. And for any of you that have ever colored very strongly with your hand. Not only does it hurt your hand, but you could wear right through the paper and create a hole. So I like to do it the exact same way I did my light. I like to hold my colored pencil way over to the edge, and again I like to just go around the outside. Now for those of you that like to color back and forth, that's how I'm going to do this one, because there's multiple ways that color depending on what feels right for you. So for this one I'm just going back and forth, but again I'm starting off light because I can always go darker, and I'm still rotating my paper because then I'm going up and down instead of trying to turn my hands in different directions. So it's easier to turn the paper than it is to turn the hand that's coloring. So I'm just going back and forth, rotating, and again right now my dark value looks very similar to my light value, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and fill in, so I'm going to go back and forth. So whether you like to color in circles or whether you like to just color up and down, we can still accomplish the same color value. So right now my dark and my light look the same because I've been using the same type of pressure. But now I'm going to come down on my pencil a little bit more, and I'm just going to add another layer to this. Instead of going super dark and super hard right away, I'm going to build up layers, kind of like what we do with painting. Sometimes when we're doing a solid color with painting, we'll just do a fast, quick layer. We'll let it dry, and then we'll apply another layer. And I like to do the same thing with my colored pencil because it creates a better transition, and it doesn't wreck the paper, and it definitely doesn't hurt my hand. So I'm going to come from back here and I'm going to come to the middle, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back and forth, and this time I'm coloring just a little bit harder. Not hard enough where I'm hurting my hand because I already have color down on the paper. So now I am adding more color, and that's called saturation. So I'm saturating this by going over it with the exact same color and just a little bit more pressure. So now we have a darker value than our first one, but it doesn't leave us a lot of room for our medium. So a key rule for maybe doing this worksheet would be on your light one, when you're holding the pencil far back, you're just going to color the box once. For the medium, you'll do 2 layers, and for your third one, we'll do 3 layers. So right now I only have 2, which means I need to go over this one more time with another layer, and it'll help saturate the color, making it darker so that the value is at a higher contrast than the other 2. So now I can move my hand down closest to the tip, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure, but again, I am not pushing so hard that my hand hurts. And for this square, I'm going back and forth. I'm going around the outside edges so that I know where my boundaries are, where does my shape start and end. And we can already start to see that my value is getting darker, and I don't have to hurt my hand or push very hard to get there. I just need to apply an extra layer of color. So now I have my darkest value and my lightest value, and hopefully right now what you're noticing is that we don't see a lot of spaghetti coloring, and we don't see a lot of scribble scrabbles. So sometimes when you color, if this is your box, sometimes you'll see a lot of coloring like this, and it's because most kids just grab it and they push as hard as they can and they go in a lot of different directions and they color this way. Now that we're in second grade, we want to start having more control over our hand and our colored pencil. So even if you are a scribble scrabbler for coloring, you can still get nice coloring like we did on the front by simply going up and down first, turning the paper, going up and down for another layer, turning, going up and down, and every time I add a layer, because I'm going up and down and then rotating it, that's called cross hatching. So instead of going all over the place in no particular order, now I'm in control of which way my marks are being made. So after I go up and down, I'll turn my paper and I'll keep going up and down. So even if you are a colorer like this, you can still have a lot of control over your colored pencil, and you can control the value by adding more or less layers without having to push as hard as you normally would color. So hopefully that helps you as we go ahead and move our way into the medium. So for our medium, I'm going to start the same way as my light, and I'm going back to circle coloring because that is what works best for me, but if you like to go back and forth, you can. Still going around the outside, rotating my paper, so right now my light and my medium are almost identical because I've only added one layer of color. So again, just like I said when we were doing the hard, our lightest one should be one layer. So right now our medium and our light are exactly the same, but this one has 3 layers, so we want to do 2 layers. So I've done one, so now instead of holding my pencil far back, I'm going to go to the middle, and again applying just a light amount of pressure, the same amount of pressure, but by going over with another layer, it's going to saturate the color, making the value get darker. And this was the reason why we do the middle one last. Now we know where our lightest color is and where our darkest color. So now we know where we don't want to be. We don't want our color so light that it looks like the light one, but we don't want to get too dark that it looks like the dark value. So I'm going to continue going back and forth, but I want to stop before my coloring starts looking like the darkest value. So right now, I know that I'm done because I have a light, a medium, and a dark. If any one of these looks like the other one, you need to add another layer to intensify it. Okay, so we did one together. We're not going to do all of them together, but go ahead and do the next 3. And for these, you can do any color. I'm just going to go ahead and run through them so that you understand that I want you to do all 4 and that they don't all have to be done in green. So your next color can be the color of your choice, but go ahead and try to get through all 4.